This story, it doesn't start where you think it does. It doesn't begin in the hills of Rwanda back in 1994. No, this story starts right now, today, in the quiet, ordinary towns of modern-day France. It's about your neighbors, about doctors, about security guards who are carrying a history they thought they'd buried forever.
Just picture this for a second. A well-respected doctor saving lives in an emergency room. A quiet grandmother tending to her garden. Now, hold that image and picture this, the Marumbi Memorial in Rwanda. It's a place where the preserved bodies of massacre victims are on display, a permanent, gut-wrenching testament to what happened there. And here's the absolutely shocking part. In some cases, the very people responsible for that horror are the same ones living those quiet, peaceful lives in France.
In 1994, the Rwandan genocide against the Tutsis was a methodical, state-sponsored campaign of murder. The target was an entire ethnic group. The death toll? 800,000 people, men, women, and children.
And the speed was just terrifying. This all happened in just 100 days. It was the most rapid, efficient genocide of the 20th century. This wasn't a distant war. It was intimate. Neighbor turned on neighbor. Friend turned on friend.
Now you'd think, with the international tribunals closed and the world having largely moved on, that the story is over. But it's not. The hunt for justice is far from finished. And it's not being led by powerful governments or international agencies. No, it's being led by one remarkable couple.
So let me introduce you to Alain and Dafrosa Gauthier. He's a retired French school principal, she's a survivor of the genocide who lost so much of her family, and together, on a completely voluntary basis, they started an organization to do what the authorities weren't, to track down these suspected killers hiding in plain sight in France. This isn't some state-funded mission, this is their life's work.
And for Dafrosa, you have to understand, this is personal. It's a promise she made to the family she lost. This quote, it really gets to the heart of it all. It's not some abstract quest for justice. It's about memory, it's about honor, and it's about refusing to let the world forget while the killers walk free.
To really understand the scale of what's happening, the impunity, let's just zoom in on one of the most disturbing cases the Gauthiers have ever pursued. It's the story of a man who allegedly went from orchestrating mass murder to, well, saving lives. On the left, you've got Dr. Charles Twagira back in 1994. He was the health manager in a region where 200,000 people were slaughtered, and he's accused of being a key organizer of those killings, even inside his own hospital. On the right, that's Dr. Charles Twagira today, working as an emergency room doctor in France. I mean, the contrast is just, it's almost impossible to process.
So to get what he's accused of, you need to understand the ideology that fueled all this hate. It was called Hutu power, and it was an extremist movement that completely dehumanized the Tutsi minority, calling them cockroaches, enemies, things that needed to be wiped out. And according to witness after witness, Dr. Twagira was a true believer.
The case against him starts with his own colleagues. This is from Dr. Wolfgang Blam, a German doctor who worked right alongside Twagira at that hospital. He saw what was happening, and he doesn't mince words. He describes Twagira not as some bystander caught up in the chaos, but as a core part of the killing machine.
And then you have the survivors. A woman named Albertine. She barely survived a massacre at a stadium and managed to hide inside the hospital. She remembers the daily terror, the militia hunting people through the hospital wards. And when investigators asked her if Dr. Twagira was around while all this was happening, her answer is simple, and it's absolutely chilling. He was there.
But get this, the testimony doesn't just come from victims. This quote is from a man named Samson, a convicted killer who is serving 30 years for his role in the genocide. Even he points the finger at Dr. Twagira, not as just some participant, but as an organizer, an authority figure who was calling the shots. But the single most specific and horrifying accusation centers on the family of his own colleague, a Tutsi doctor named Camille. Dr. Camille was away when the genocide kicked off. His wife, Beatrice, and their kids were hidden in a house near the hospital. When they were discovered, witnesses say Dr. Twagira himself came to the scene.
And this is the testimony of one of the killers who was there that day. He says that when the German doctor refused to hand over the keys to the house, Twagira gave a direct order, using that same dehumanizing language, "Get the cockroaches out." Beatrice and her children were dragged from their hiding place and slaughtered.
So after years of collecting testimony this detailed, this harrowing,
Investigators finally confronted Dr. Twagira in France. They found him outside the evangelical church where he preaches on Sundays.
And his response to all of it? To these detailed, multifaceted accusations of orchestrating murder? I have a clear conscience, a total unwavering denial. For him, and for so many others like him, it's as if the year 1994 and everything that happened just doesn't exist. Now here's the thing. The case of Dr. Twagira, as unbelievable as it sounds, is not an isolated one, not even close. It actually points to a much bigger, systemic failure inside the French justice system. Think about it. The Gauthiers and their tiny organization, the CPCR, have filed over 20 formal complaints against suspected Rwandan genociders living and working in France.
And yet the result has been, well, almost nothing. Not a single final conviction has been secured. Suspects get arrested, sometimes, only to be released a few hours later. The cases just stop. They languish for years, just gathering dust in the system.
And this really shows you the maddening cycle. You have activists like the Gauthiers who do all the hard work, gathering evidence, filing complaints. A suspect is identified. But then the whole process just grinds to a halt. It's a broken path that leads absolutely nowhere.
The lawyer for the CPCR, he just puts it bluntly. France has the resources. They have capable judges and police. They have all the means to investigate and prosecute these crimes. So the fact that they don't, well, it's not because they can't, it's because they don't want to.
And all of this leaves us with a deeply unsettling question, doesn't it? As the perpetrators of one of history's worst crimes get to live out their lives in peace, protected by bureaucracy and the simple passage of time, what does that say about our real commitment to justice? And more importantly, what happens to the memory of the 800,000 people who were given no peace at all?